It's the franchise AI update for August 2024, brought to you by WSI. Joining me once again is my friend Robert Mitchell. He's the Chief AI Officer at WSI. Robert, how are you?
Doing great, Jack. Looking forward to this awesome conversation.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to all of the conversations that we're going to have over the next several months, bringing everybody the latest information and updates on AI, specifically for the franchise space. It really feels like no one else is bringing this to the forefront yet. And my friend, you are obviously the thought leader in this industry, though I don't know if this is something you thought you'd be doing 5 years ago, being the chief AI officer, right?
No, definitely not. Just definitely a great pivot to my otherwise great franchise career. 23 years in franchising. So, but I do love that WSI has picked me up a couple years ago and allowed me to spread my wings, as it were, in the AI space and technology. It's been brilliant. But there are a lot. I want to say there are a lot other thought leaders in this space. So I'm not the thought leader. There's a lot more that are doing brilliant work in AI. But we like to pride ourselves in being one of the trailblazers, as it were.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And I think that might be a good place for us to start our conversation today, getting kind of a broad overview of where the franchise industry is right now when it comes to adopting AI. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that's kind of where I was going with that comment, is that in typical years, and maybe you can attest to this as well, it seems as though franchising has always been, how do I say this nicely, politically correct, kind of a laggard when it came to technologies. They
Yeah,
kind of took their time, wait for it. Just they weren't. Maybe it's because of the very nature of franchising, hard to deploy across 1,000 units chain or whatnot. Being
right.
the big
It's
ship, hard to turn.
hard to turn
But
that big ship. Absolutely.
exactly. So
Sure.
I get that, but I love that ever since 2 years ago when Patty, myself, you, and Dan were on that panel, and we kind of just were explaining to people those two new letters that came out, and AI, that is. I think that ever since then, people have been approaching me at conventions, calling me, reaching out. I think that they're eager because, and I think the reason why they're eager is because they recognize this is not like other technologies. The deployment learning curve is very minimal. And I think that's the brilliance of this technology. So
Yeah.
optimistic.
It also feels like, and tell me your thoughts on this, that AI is maybe something that's more being on the offense as opposed to being on the defense all the time, right? With so many other technology things that have come around over the past couple of decades, it feels like franchisors are like, oh, another thing that's going to ruin my business if I don't invest in it, right? Cybersecurity, issues with the internet, issues with privacy, other things that might not even be technical that come along, and we're constantly playing defense with some of these things. AI, though, is something that comes along and people, I think, have really realized this is something that could actually grow my business. It's not something I should only be afraid of.
Well, I think the reason for that, Jack, and I think that this is kind of where we've seen it with our clients, is that a lot of these fear mongering type of examples that you gave, maybe it's not fear mongering, but just like things you have to do or else, they have that same thread in AI, mind you, but it's a different type of you better get on the bandwagon or get left behind type of thing.
Yeah.
But that aside, I think it's because of the tendrils of AI. What I mean by that is you have every role in every department that can be upskilled and improved. Whereas before you would have the department that generated the most money. I'll tell you, accounting has been left to the wayside for years. They're not a revenue generator. Marketing and sales are important. Ops is important because they need to drive franchise owner growth. So there's all these departments that tend to get all the attention, all the money. But the
Yeah.
beauty of AI is it allows Susie over in accounting to be upskilled to make her job 50% more productive and truly impactful in the organization and affect the bottom line. So that's where I think the shift is that people are recognizing that.
Yeah, it could be that some of the things that we've seen just during our careers in franchising, the explosion of the internet and social media taking over, that was all seen as something that the marketing department needs to deal with, right? Whereas AI is great for marketers, sure, but there are so many other things that a company could do that have nothing to do with marketing, right?
Hmm.
So I think your your what you're saying about getting AI involved with all of these other departments and maybe some places that really could use some help these days, right? I think that's maybe what's leading to some of this growth. So
Hmm.
tell me
Truly.
about WSI and your work there. Are you working with WSI franchisees? Are you working with other franchisors as clients? Give me an overview of that work.
Well, definitely. So it's both, and I think that's probably why we're so effective, because we are drinking our own Kool-Aid.
Hmm.
And that's one element. I guess I used that phrase wrong. We are drinking our own Kool-Aid, meaning we are deploying our own AI tools within the organization at corporate and for our franchise owners. But a second way of using that phrase is I'm actually working with clients directly, or WSI corporate. We have our own consultancy model. And just like a lot of franchises do this, they have to have a corporate owned store that tests out the technologies in their framework. At the same time, I mean, literally the same time, from call to call, it could be a client call, or it could be a franchise owner's client, or it could be a franchise owner of ours that's looking to understand this new framework. And for those who don't know, WSI is a digital marketing franchisor, has been for 28 years, I think it is now. And so our business model is to help digital marketing agencies, or become digital marketing agencies around the world. Where our shift has come is those digital marketing agencies are now becoming AI consultancy agencies as
Mm.
well. So there's another product line they can offer. And as I said this before, most marketers are seen to already have been dabbling in this anyway. So it's a natural progression for the end client to already assume we are the experts. And so I'm here to upskill our franchise owners, get them using our framework, giving them the tools to easily deploy solutions. And that's the hard part. Right now, it's really hard to find the AI architects that can build these tools. But anyway, so what we're doing at corporate is, one, building out that additional module or franchise offering, as well as working with clients in the franchise industry specifically. Now, the beauty of that is I get to work with banks, healthcare, travel, all different types of clients of our franchise owners, in addition to my clients, which are 100% franchise focused. We can kind of get a understanding of how the model needs to tweak for different types of industry. But yeah.
Got it. Tell me about some of the brands that you're working with and the things that they're doing. Any good stories you can share of examples of how you're helping those franchisors grow their business with AI?
Yeah, and I think the best way to explain that, of course, I don't want to say any names because a lot of
Sure.
them are trying to keep it under the radar,
Yeah,
partly
yeah.
because of competition reasons. They don't want
Sure.
their competition knowing they're about to get 40% more productive. But aside from that, some of them are legacy brands with thousands of locations. Some of them are service brands. Some of them are retail brands, food and beverage brands. But
So
before I
really
really get
across the spectrum of
well, of
franchising,
course.
you're
Well, I mean,
working
that's
with
what I was saying.
everybody. Okay.
Yeah, every industry. Here's one of the things I always say during workshops: every task, every workflow, every role, every department in every industry will be affected. Will be need to be reimagined. Their roles and their workflows, all that needs to be reimagined in the realm of AI. It's a paradigm shift on epic proportions. Now, in order to better understand kind of how we are helping our clients, it's better to help you understand how we help them. So we don't go in, I mentioned this before in I think our last conversations, we can't go in as a hammer in search of a nail. That's a SaaS product. You take a Salesforce and you punch it and you squeeze it and you make it fit that org, by whatever means necessary. No offense to Salesforce. But what we try to do is we first have to set the baseline. As a consultative agency, when we work with our clients, we got to give them AI policy. We got to give them governance and strategy and help change their culture. And that means leadership, top down approach, understanding that the adoption of AI must first start with the ones who have to set the culture and set the strategy moving forward and actually write the checks, right?
Yeah.
The other part of that is the employees. We call it the bottom up, and no offense to that either. It's just the nature of the beast, right? And that is understanding the aptitude and attitude of the people in the team. People doing the work. Are they scared of this technology? How do we make them not scared? Are they scared of their job being taken because of this technology? Let's make them not scared. Let's upskill them to make them relevant again. No offense, but that's happening. People are feeling like this technology is pushing them out. So we go in with that premise first, and then we go hog wild, training, upskilling, going into deep dives, analyzing those tasks and processes to find the true use cases. And then we start solutioning those projects. And we have a great calculator that we've built that says, okay, this is what you're doing now. This is what it costs every day to do those, or every week or every month to do these tasks, right? If we built the tool and it costs 5, 10 grand or whatever to build the tool, but it saves you 50 grand, then that's a worthwhile tool. If we flip that and we go, this is a really sexy, shiny penny, we want to build a chatbot for this, and we realize it only going to save you a couple grand and it's going to be a huge build, don't do it. So we have this great formula we put together, but like, it's got to be needs based, but it also has to be value based too. So we have kind of both there. And then once you do that, we build it, we deploy it, we train the users on how to operate it, and then we monitor the success of that. So we have to understand that. Well, we have to help the new employees who are using this tool understand how to use it, and then we want to monitor like what it did, how did it upskill people. At the end, we continue to coach and mentor the team. We Sherpa the leadership as a common term in WSI, and we work with the AI champions in their organization. And it's all for the continuous improvement of through AI. And then we do that through an advisory that we do for all of our clients. So all that to say, that's kind of the framework. But one little stat I want to throw at you. I know you're waiting for to ask another question, but this is a great one. So we poll all of our clients, before and after training, and we continue to poll them. One of the questions we ask a lot is, so how are you improving your workflow based on our workshops that we provided last month? How have you improved it? What have you done? What's changed? And I'm not making this number up. They tell us the number. We don't give them a multiple choice question, right? They say, I'm probably about 20% more efficient because of what you all taught us. One guy said 25, but let's just take him out, the top and the bottom, right?
Right,
So about
right.
20% more efficient. And the ones that don't say I'm more efficient, you know what they say? I'm better quality. And so what we've taught them to use is these tools on a regular, everyday basis, and they're able to make their work happen faster or better. And I just love that. So that's a long-winded answer.
No, I love that. And staying on that tone of adopting the technology and everything AI within a franchise company. You mentioned something about your clients all have, I think you called them a Sherpa internally, right? How
Well,
important
so
is
we're
it?
the Sherpa, they're
You're the
the AI
Sherpa.
champion. Yeah.
Okay, so how important is it to have that AI champion within the franchisor's organization? And is that a must-have? They've got to have somebody who's going to work with you directly and really champion the AI cause internally. Is that correct?
We can't do it without them. It's
Really?
100% necessary. So if the number one thing that we first must have is leadership's buy-in, that's number one. But number two, we work really hard on those first workshops identifying that champion. And usually they're one and the same. Like a lot of our clients came from talks that I did or Dan did and sessions we provided, and they came and they convinced leadership that you should look at these guys, and leadership got on board, and that whoever that person was ends up being the champion. Now, as you indicated, this is crucial. The reason why it's crucial is they help facilitate that new culture shift. They are typically running a weekly or bi-weekly AI at blankety blank company. And everybody comes in like has office hours, and we're participating in those as well, but they're facilitating. And so they're changing the culture, and they're getting those needs, and they're helping to get the enthusiasm for this adoption, because the worst thing we could imagine is we spend all this money, or the client does, we build these tools and they sit on the shelf. So having an AI champion is absolutely a must.
Got it. What else does a franchisor need to have inside. Obviously, you've got to have the buy-in from the decision makers, or you wouldn't be there in the first place. And you've got to have that champion. Are there other people who need to be really involved with you and really involved in AI, or is that more of a department by department type of thing that you're helping them?
Well, it's funny that the answer to this question is not what you might think. We 100% absolutely need to have their, well, I'm not sure what the title might be, but their chief information officer, like the person
Okay.
who's like Chicken Little. Like
Right.
we need to get that person on board, right?
Yeah.
And nowhere has this been more apparent than in banking. I mean, we've had downright knockdown, drag out discussions about we cannot do this. This is not, we were a bank.
Yeah.
We can, personal identifiable information cannot be a, and this is brilliant. So we have to have them in the conversation because we're not going to build something that's going to threaten the business or threaten the customers of the business. So we need their intel to help make sure the build is safe and the products we put out or the services we provide are safe to their business model. So it's not that one's a champion, like everything is green, everything's great, and the other person is like a doom and gloomer. We need them
Yeah.
both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to bring in the department of no, whether that's
Yes,
the
100%.
IT guy or the or probably the legal department too. Do you run into trouble there?
I hate to say this because there's all might be some franchise lawyers on listening to this podcast. They don't quite know what to do with it yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's where we're finding out that they're kind of playing kind of unknowns, and lawyers are risk adverse, so they don't want to start making claims or making statements that aren't quite
Right.
ready yet. So they're in a holding pattern, I think, for most legal. So
Yeah. No, I think that's changing. There are so many lawyers in the franchise space who just don't fit the description of what we saw lawyers as in the franchise space 20 years ago, right?
yeah,
There
new
are so
breed.
many who
Yeah.
are, yeah, I mean, they're open to new ideas and innovation, and especially when it comes to marketing and things like that. So I think that's also a sign of the times that even lawyers are seeing this is something we have to deal with. We can't stick our head in the sand. And I
Mhm.
guess that brings me to another question. Do you still run into, and hopefully that number is decreasing, do you still run into a lot of brands that just don't want to hear about this and want to stick their heads in the sand?
It's hard to say because, when I'm in networking and I'm out in the community or I'm on, LinkedIn, it's all the champions or all the enthusiasm around
Yeah,
AI.
yeah.
I don't have people coming up to me boldly and saying, "What are you doing promoting this end of the world?" I mean, if they have those comments, they're kind of keeping them to themselves. If I were to guess, I'd say that the ones that have always been adverse to new technology are going to continue to be adverse. Although one of my clients, I'm very proud of this particular master franchise owner because he's identified this and their organization as a whole has been very, very slow to develop new technology. And so this is a brilliant step up. This could level up their whole network. Yeah. So if so I guess it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag.
That's an interesting position, though, to have a master franchise owner or maybe a multi-unit owner that's really influential within the system. Do you ever get
Mhm.
any of those folks as your champion? Because that would be amazing.
You better believe it. And that's kind of our goal with this particular client is that, because a master has the same problems of every other master, right?
Sure,
So,
sure.
they all address the problems different ways. So and this is what we found with this particular organization is they've figured out band-aid deployments over the last 20, 30 years of ways to workarounds, we call them. There's so many workarounds that the staff are having to do. The the process map graph would make your eyes crossed. It is, and so that's all we got to present. We got to just take this process map that we built from our deep dive with so and so employee and just hand that to corporate. Look what this employee does just to accomplish one task. Are you kidding? It's like that should be an eye opener. Just the data itself. So yes, it's great to have a champion that's got basically in essence a mini franchisor, right? Because they have
Right.
120 locations
Yeah.
and the ability to take the successes of that and be like, look what we could do. And the corporate can't turn a blind eye to that success if we actually deploy it well.
Yeah, and the other franchisees can't ignore that as well
Of course
because
not.
there's always that one multi-unit franchisee in a system that everybody's watching, right? And
Hmm.
if you can get that person on your side to be your champion, that's a successful formula, I think, for the brand. So
Sure, definitely.
um, tell me about you and I have talked about this over time, over the past year and a half since AI has really been sort of on the top of everyone's mind. We still get a lot of brands who they 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 might not say this to you, but they say this to me like, I just don't know where to start. What should we do? Obviously, my answer is have a conversation with Robert, and then you'll have even more questions, right? But you'll be moving in the right direction. If somebody were to come to you today and just say, "We are doing nothing. I don't know even where to begin," what would you advise them to do next?
It's funny, prior to the call, we had some questions we were thinking about asking each other, right? And then this one was one that I had in the back of my head, and that's exactly the biggest challenge of AI implementation is that franchisors or businesses in general don't know where to go because this came up so fast and so quick that there are no experts in this space. There are no people, I shouldn't say experts, there are no graduates of a 4-year degree that you can hire that
Yeah,
can click a button. And to
not
that
yet
point,
anyway.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
we'll have
yeah.
those people in about 6 years. We'll see those
Well,
people
the
on the
University of
streets.
Tennessee, to plug my alma mater, I'm actually consulting with their new college, the College of Emerging and Collaborative Studies, on their AI divisions. Who have a whole AI degree
Wow.
they're creating, and so I'm consulting with them to make sure that everything is moving to that direction. But at the end of the day, it's still 4 years away if you just started
Yeah.
the college today. So that's the challenge. But going back to your question is, yeah, they don't know where to go. There is no true leadership in this space that's affordable. There's the Deloittes, there's the BSGs, there's the big groups out there, but unfortunately, they're big ticket. And so a lot of the solutions that we offer are in line with that, but because we've been doing this for years, we were kind of poised for this. And I say we, WSI, we're used to technology changes and shifts, and we had to adapt to social media when it came out and SEO. And so I think that we've already had this as part of our ethos and being able to be ready for this change. So I think that, as you said, the answer to the question is, people don't know where to go. Well, WSI definitely has the chops and the team built and ready to help any franchisor with their AI deployment. That's the quick and dirty, low sales pitch.
Excellent. Well, over the next several weeks, we're going to be talking about a whole range of AI topics for franchisors and people in the franchise community. We're going to talk about trends for emerging brands, maybe what that looks like for some legacy brands and bigger brands. We're going to talk next, I think, about customer experience and a whole bunch of different topics, all related to the latest in AI for franchisors. Robert, anything else you sort of see coming up this fall that we're going to talk about, or maybe things that people should start thinking about as they're getting back in the groove with going to events and hitting the road again and learning more about franchising? Anything people should be thinking about as they're starting their journey?
Well, and I think that it depends on what your role is at the company, right?
Hmm.
So if you're inside of the company, don't have a leadership role, be the squeaky wheel. Because a lot of people, I talked to a gentleman yesterday, nothing to do with franchising. He was in an industry which is a telemarketing industry. So his business model, he would have a whole room full of telemarketers calling for his clients, that kind of thing. I was aghast about how little technology he used. I'm talking he still uses spreadsheets, and the numbers are on the spreadsheet and the caller does deep, 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 deep calling, right? And
Oh,
I just kind of like, oh my gosh, you're already at a business, you just don't know it yet. And so I think I'm trying to talk to those people in franchising. I'm saying, can you be the squeaky wheel because you're on a trajectory you don't know yet that's going to bring your business model to uh, the a stopping point, a point which you have to make a decision and it'd be too late at that point. So I'm telling everybody, if you're in the organization, start having conversations if you're excited about AI with those who have the power to in decision making to make a shift in the organization. If you are leadership, okay, look at your competitors. I mean, just look at McDonald's. If you're in food and beverage, just look at McDonald's and Wendy's. I know it's a bad example, but just bear with me. They're investing in AI technology to take orders. Okay. What does that do to your profitability of your model versus theirs? They don't have to hire as many employees. Their labor costs are down. Their price now is going to go down. So, and their customer experience is going to go up, hypothetically. So if you start having these conversations at leadership, you better start pivoting based on some of the other players. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is start looking inward and start looking outward and start making those changes and having those conversations and bringing it to every board meeting.
Excellent. And if anyone does have something that they would like to hear us discuss over the next few weeks, please send any questions or ideas to jack@socialgeekradio.com. And I would love to share those ideas here with Robert as we continue this podcast series. Robert, before we go, if someone has a question directly for you right now, or they want to learn a little bit more about WSI, where can we send them?
You can go to my LinkedIn page, Robert Mitchell. I forgot the actual uh, link. We can put it in the show description. But also, wsiworld.com. We're finalizing our AI page, so you can go to that one eventually. You can email me directly, rmitchell@wsicorporate.com.
Excellent. We will see you again in 30 days, my friend.
All right. Cheers.